What's going on, shoe family? Kyle here from Does Kyle Dig It, the volleyball focused shoe review channel where we take signature and performance basketball shoes and review them for the sport of volleyball. As always, I'm your host, Kyle, both a volleyball coach and a volleyball player with an unhealthy shoe obsession. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite shoes so far for 2025, and that is the Li-Ning Liren 5. As always, if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Drop down in those comments and let me know what you think about the Li-Ning Liren 5s. That being said, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of these shoes because I'm really excited to talk about them. As many of you know, if you've been following my channel for a little while, I had the Liren 4s from last year, and I really liked those shoes. A huge fan of Liren 4s, probably some of my favorite shoes to wear still to this point, and probably some of my favorite looking shoes as well, just because I got a very, very unique colorway in these bad boys. That being said, I was really excited for the Liren 5s to come in, and they did not disappoint. Now, I got mine in the Winter Friends colorway. It's supposed to be mimicking, obviously, forest colors and everything, and that's what it gave me. I think it's a really, really cool look, and they look great on foot. Now, yeah, you can find these online ranging between like $170 to $200, depending on the colorway. And we've also got the new V2 versions of these that just came out. So they beat me to the punch before I could actually get my review published. Let me know, actually, if you want to see the V2s broken down. I'll actually talk a little bit about the differences between that shoe and the updated shoe here as we go into a little bit of this. So without further ado, like always, let's get started with that traction. Now, we've actually got three different patterns that make up different sections of the traction on this shoe. We've got a classic kind of, waved herringbone pattern up here on the front part of the shoe. Next to that, that then runs down the actual lateral support of the shoe, is more of like a wave pattern. And then from the mid sole of the shoe, running all the way through the heel, is this more like diamond pattern. Not sure why each one is where it is, if there's any particular science behind that, but I do know it works. Traction on these shoes was excellent. With that rubber coming all the way up the interior side here of the shoe, and then you get that real nice wide outrigger that has the full rubber support on it. These things bite, they stop hard, and they do it on both dusty courts, clean courts, sport courts, super dusty sport courts. I had no issues. Just like the predecessor, I felt comfortable playing in these on any surface, and they stopped hard. So traction, easy, 10 out of 10 for these particular shoes. Now, as we go ahead and we move on up the shoe and we talk about the cushioning, these are a little bit unique as compared to some other shoes that might have full cushioning support all the way through them. These actually have cushioning pods. So these have the boom foam from Li-Ning, same as used in the Way of Way line, but it is broken into a heel pod and then a toe pod, where the only foam that you can actually see exposed on the entire shoe is in this little underneath area here. Right by the heel, you can see some of the exposed boom foam for the heel. Otherwise, that front pod is completely closed and caged in. What that does lend for is really good cushioning and support. Full boom foam is always great, and with it having a little bit of room here in the heel, you get really, really nice heel compression on these. So the step-in comfort is actually pretty solid, and the actual stability and cushioning support on these is great. Maybe not so much so that I would recommend them for like a middle hitter or something, but for any other position, this is going to be great support. Really, really good stuff on these. Now, instead of a carbon fiber plate, you do get a plastic TPU plate that is kind of that support section of the shoe that runs the midfoot here. Has a hole indented in the middle. Not sure why that is there, but it does make these shoes very springy. I mean, this TPU plate isn't anything to joke at. Or to laugh at, I should say. And that's probably because of just like the nice lightweight material of the entire shoe. Average weight of my shoes is 12.5 ounces. These bad boys are coming in at 11.3 ounces. So a good ounce under the regular standard. And they do feel every bit of that. They feel lightweight on foot. And they're very, very minimal feel to them. That being said, though, I went true to size, and I would say that if you have kind of like a wider foot, or you want a little bit more room in that toe box, I would highly recommend going up half a size. I think if I get the V2s, I may go up half a size just because these felt a little bit more snug than I might have otherwise liked if I went, true to size like I did here. I think maybe that half size up would be potentially beneficial. So, wrapping up that cushioning and support, I would say probably 10 out of 10, maybe a 9.5 out of 10, just because it is a little bit more minimal. And it would be nice to have a little bit more of that impact protection over the entire shoe. But with the shoe being lightweight and you getting that really nice boom foam in both pods, it feels really, really good on foot. Now, that is the one big difference I know between this and the V2 of the shoes, is that hollowed out kind of midsole area here is gone in the V2 version. That may make the V2 version feel a little bit more comfortable and have a little bit more cushioning support on step in. So I'll be interested to see, once I finally get my hands on a pair of those, what the actual differences between that shoe and this shoe are. Now, as we go ahead and we move our way on up the shoe and we talk about that support and lockdown, materials on this shoe, it's kind of a synthetic textile material, feels really good, pretty high quality, looks great actually on foot. You get a little bit of a kind of a hardened material here up by the actual laces, so they've got something to actually support where they're laced through. Then we've got again, the thin laces I'm not a huge fan of, but they do lock down adequately. The issue, and where this shoe kind of, falls a little bit shorter on the list, and why it is actually not my favorite shoe of 2025 so far, is when we start to talk about the tongue here. So what we do have is we have a half booty construction, right, for that nice 1-to-1 fit. And then you've got a foam stroble board on the inside. But that tongue has cushioning, but again, just only in a pod right here at the front of the shoe that's in almost like a hexagon kind of a shape here. And then there's a little bit of extra padding as you run down the shoe, but not a whole, down the tongue, I should say, but not a whole lot. And so when you actually lace these, if you do lace them down tight and it's not on a part of that actual cushioning that's built in here, there is almost no material here on that tongue. So it can give you a little bit of that rubbing feeling, or feel like it's biting down a little bit hard on your foot. That, combined with, like I said, I did go true to size and they did feel a little bit snug. So that led to potentially a little bit of discomfort if I lace these things really hard. So I wouldn't recommend that. And like I said, I would potentially recommend going up half a size. That being said, though, you do get nice adequate cushioning all the way around the heel area of your shoe. So that wasn't too bad. Makes up a little bit for the bad tongue area that we had here. But overall, lockdown and support of the shoe, I would say more actually in the 9 to 8.5 out of 10 category. I just wasn't a huge fan of this, really minimal tongue here with the flat kind of bitey laces, but real nice wide outrigger to the shoe, relatively, good high quality materials and decent cushioning here in the heel and the Achilles area. Never felt like I was, unstable in the shoe. So it did its job. I just wish it had been a little bit more comfortable and we could have gotten a tongue with just a little bit more cushioning to it. So to wrap up on the Liren 5 cushioning and comfort, I would say 9.5, 10 out of 10. Traction, 10 out of 10, but that lockdown and support, only an 8.5, 9 out of 10 because of that tongue and the laces and everything. But overall, a solid 9, 9.5 out of 10 shoe. That's why it made my top 5 so far of 2025 list. I really enjoyed wearing this thing. It had a hard stop on pretty much any surface. And I would recommend it for pretty much every position except for middle. You could see this being a really, really high-end performer. I definitely enjoyed wearing it both while I was setting and while I was hitting. Had really, really, great performance with that shoe. Awesome heel to toe transition. Just a great shoe overall. And pretty much, what we've come to expect from Li-Ning, Way of Wade. They really don't put out bad shoes. But for, I would say, maybe the, Ice Blood 2 V2 from the Way of Wade line, I've liked every single shoe that's come out from Li-Ning Way of Wade for the last 2.5 years. So to wrap up, Kyle does dig the Li-Ning Liren 5s. I think it's pretty apparent since they already put them on my top 5 so far of 2025 list. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you disagree with me, let me know. Otherwise, that'll be Kyle from Does Kyle Dig It, signing off.